today on the UFO Connection, we have one of the most controversial figures in the entire scene, political or UFOs, and I'm proud to say that we're talking to Mr. Bill Cooper. Bill?
Hello.
My pleasure, and thank you very, very much. I feel really special to have this little talk with you. One thing I want to ask you, and it's been on my mind, why aren't you speaking at this particular convention? They haven't asked you, or?
No, I wasn't asked, and some conventions I'm never going to be asked because of the type of convention that it is.
So it's a political thing, you think?
No, and this one is not a political thing. I know that Wendell Stevens knows exactly what's really going on, and he knows that I know what's really going on. But that politics has nothing to do with why I wasn't asked. It's because this is a special kind of convention where the whole feeling is supposed to be up, feeling good, very spiritual.
Really?
A lot of times my message is misconstrued as being not spiritual or being overly negative. I think they miss a lot of what I say because my point is that to be a spiritual person, to be a person that really matters, and to really keep your power, which is your spirituality, and not become a slave, you have to know what the problems are. You have to identify them. You have to be mature enough and responsible enough to look them in the face and say, I've got to do something about this. And unfortunately, a lot of things that I talk about, if we don't do something about it, then it's not going to make a pile of beans, whether you're spiritual or not. You're going to be somebody's slave in a future New World Order that's going to be a totalitarian socialist state.
Yeah, I know. I found a lot of people since I've been researching for myself, and we've been doing this since April of 1989, which isn't a very long time. But I found out that there is a definite bunch of people in this field that do want to kind of look on the rosy side all the time. And I think that's kind of Pollyanna-ish. Myself, I think you really got to look at all sides of the pictures, and there's definitely two sides to this picture. There's definitely two or more sides to all of this stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. And we can't address it like you just said unless we do look at all of it, you know.
That's correct.
I agree with you completely.
It's human nature to want to believe in some race of benevolent space brothers that are going to come and save us from ourselves. But it's not logical, and you can't make it work any way you look at it. There may be a lot of benevolent people out there in the universe. I don't know. But one thing is for sure, any sentient being or species always has one thing first and foremost in any action that it does, and that's its own best interest and the survival of its own species. If they're looking down here watching us kill each other and war against each other and plot against each other and manipulate each other
for centuries,
why would they come down here and pick us up and take us to their planet so that we can do the same thing there? It doesn't make any sense at all. I think if there is a benevolent force out there, if they're there, they may be helping us in other ways. They may be giving us information. They may be giving us spiritual support, maybe. But the ultimate outcome of anything that happens here on this earth in our future is going to depend on us, not on some outside group of people from anywhere.
Well, let me just jump in real quick, and right in the middle of this thing is there anything right now before we go on that we can, because what we do is we impart this information all over the place. We're into networking. And is there any kind of a certain message that we can give out now to people that just may be the first time that they're seeing you? Like the message I always put out is to love all things, but do as you wish. That's the message that I put out that I've gotten since I've been in the UFO stuff. And that's basically, it says, just, you know, take responsibility for your actions, but do whatever you think needs to be done, you know. And if it's to come down on people that are hurting our planet, then we need to come down on them. We need to expose them, not just hope they're going to go away, because they're not going to go away. Is there any kind of a thing that you can zap us with?
Yeah, I like what Teddy Roosevelt said. He said basically what you said, but he sort of covered himself. He said, walk softly, but carry a big stick. It's okay to love the world and love everybody you meet, But for instance, in my
And everything,
situation,
too, everything. That
right.
means the planet, that means the earth. you know.
Absolutely. There are intelligent people out there who unfortunately don't think that way. And if you let your guard down and give them unconditional love, they're going to smack you upside the head with a 2x4. So there has to be a maturity and a responsibility in everything that we do. What I would say to everyone, if this is the first time they've ever heard me, is don't believe a word I'm saying or anyone else is saying. My message, I guess, to everyone, and it's what I've tried to put across in my book and all my lectures, everything that I do, is that you got to learn to use your own brain, learn to do your own research. Don't follow anyone blindly, and for God's sake, never worship a leader.
Right.
And that's the only way you can find your own truth. And that's the only thing in this world that counts is your own truth. But it's got to be the truth. You can't fool yourself, and you can't let other people fool you. What most people believe is reality. I have found through my stint with Naval Intelligence and through the last 19 years of research is really a ride on Mr. Toad's car in Disneyland. And I've got the message that I want to give everybody is your e-ticket's just expired. And if you've never been to Disneyland, don't know what an e-ticket is, that was the ticket you could buy at the gate that you could ride all the rides you wanted to as long as you wanted to, and you never had to pay anything or do anything other than have that e-ticket. Well, the ride's over. There's some people in this world who are about to destroy the sovereignty of nations, take away our Bill of Rights.
I believe you.
The UFO thing is integrally tied into this in some way. I'm not exactly sure how, but if extraterrestrials are real, then they're controlling everything, believe me. If they're not real, they're being used as a threat from without to scare people into coming into this one world global unity of humanity in order to face that external threat. But in the process, we're going to lose. The ordinary man will lose. A lot, in fact. My search is for the truth. And I would like for everybody to start looking for the truth instead of dialing Channel 6, listening to President Bush or Walter Cronkite or anybody else, and believing them blindly, because it's mostly...
People are pretty lazy, more or less,
Yeah.
you know. They just like to watch the television. They don't even buy the paper anymore, and the paper is, you can hardly believe what you can read in the paper, but a lot of people aren't even reading the paper. And forget cable, which cable I think is one that might be the salvation of the planet if we can just get cable to everybody and we can put good shows on, such as our show. But we are about the truth. I have a show, the whole show is called The Shane Eden Show with Lou Golden. And within that framework, we do the UFO connection about 50% of the time, and the rest of the time. And the motto of our show is the truth. We want the truth. That's all we want. I don't care if it's for us or for you or whatever, just the truth. And the only way to get that is to dig at it and ask questions and research, and that's why I feel, you know, flattered, and I'm glad that we have this chance to talk to you too, because I personally, you know, think that you're out there putting this stuff out, you know, because unless you're some kind of sadomasochist or something that loves all this, you know,
well, you got
negative
that right.
reaction because you get a bunch of it, you know, but a lot of it rings true, such as the landing on the moon prior to that, you know, such as this huge ship coming out of the water. For how long was that? 45 minutes you watched?
No, we watched it for about 10 minutes, took a lot of photographs. The chief quartermaster
So there are
actually
photographs
took
floating around.
well, the government has them.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if we'll ever see them, but it certainly left an impression on me. I know that UFOs are real, that they're metal, they're a machine, and somebody's flying in those things. The only question is who. Did somebody on Earth invent a secret technology that's been withheld from the public for many, many years? Are they using this, flying around to create an artificial alien threat from outer space to help bring about this one world government? Are extraterrestrials really visiting us here on the Earth? And we need to know this. We need to get at the truth. We don't want to be manipulated. And if extraterrestrials are real, it's the most significant event that's ever occurred in the history of mankind, and especially that we recognize it and that we're not looking at them as gods. It's important that we know this and that we deal with it.
too, if these are real. We're not saying, and I'm sure you're not saying that these are, like you
No,
just said.
no.
But we need to investigate it.
Right.
We need to see if something is underneath. Would you want, now if you want any of this cut out, we can cut it out, but otherwise we're going to go straight on. As you mentioned earlier, that Dulce was the incorrect name to use, that there's someplace else. But if we want to find out what's underneath here, we would like to see what the hell's under here. We're the people.
Right.
We run this country, not the military.
Right.
You know, they just work for us. And what is this top secret crap, you know? We need to find this stuff out.
The whole concept of hiding something behind a veil of national security is a manipulation. It's false. When we have a nuclear arsenal that is as big as we have, and when the Russians have a nuclear arsenal as big as they have, there is no such thing as national security. We can destroy the earth ourselves. If someone is foolish enough to attack us, they're dead. Probably the whole earth will be dead if we retaliate.
Yeah, look what happened to the poor Iraqis over there.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I don't mean Saddam Hussein, which we should have got in the first place. With one guy could have got him. I don't mean to cut into what you're saying, but exactly, we're a fearsome nation.
But the point is we have it. Everybody knows we have it. What is there to hide? I mean, is there some other super secret weapon that we need to hide? How can anybody hurt us when we have this arsenal? The National Security Act is being used to keep information from the United States citizens, not to protect us from an enemy from without. There's no one that can hurt us when we have this. It just cannot be done. If they attempt it, they're going to be destroyed. We're going to be destroyed. Only madmen would do something like that. And if they're going to do it, they're going to do it, and no National Security Act is going to protect us or shield us from it. They've got to open the file cabinets. They've got to let us see what the truth is. Like you said, this is our country. Unfortunately, most Americans don't vote. They're not responsible citizens. They've abdicated their power. They've given it to the enemy. And the enemy, believe me, is taking it and using it. And we need to get politically active. We need to learn what the truth is. We need to exercise our vote, because each vote is a block of power. And a lot of votes is a tremendous block of power. The concept that someone is just one person and that they're helpless is totally false. And look back through history and see how many times throughout the history of the human race, one single, solitary, lonely, fragile human being has changed and altered forever the entire course of civilization and human events from that point. And they're no different then or now than you or I or the man running the camera or the woman next door. They were flesh and blood, scared, lonely human beings just like everybody else in the world.
I've got a question.
It's a good message. Go ahead, Ted.
And I'm directing this for one reason, because I feel, I like what you say, and I think that you're the right person for doing this. Even though you come at it at two different angles. You come at it with the U.S. Constitution and the government, which I like, and you're also adding to the UFOs. Somebody needs to do this, and I take my hat off. I wish I had the time and the eyes and the experience that you have to do it. But my question is this. President Bush just went to the hospital yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They all tend to go to the Bethesda Hospital, and it's
Maryland.
and it's a Navy hospital, intelligence hospital. And as I remember in the incident with Eisenhower, he was shifted away all of a sudden for a dental appointment that never happened. Could this be something, you being in intelligence, could this be a secret meeting room? And you don't have to answer this. And I can shut off the tape if you want. But could it be, and you can direct this question to it.
We just asked the question.
But could it be a secret meeting room where the president needs to get together with a bunch of people that the community doesn't want to know about? So he gets a heart attack, or he has a colon attack, or he needs to take a mole off, so he goes to the hospital and he meets with these people.
No, I don't think that's what it is. I think what it is that a lot of us out here have been bringing tremendous pressure on the administration and on the Congress and on the president about what we know is going wrong, about the Kennedy assassination, about the fact that the hostages were held and released only 30 minutes after Ronald Reagan was sworn in,
Right.
about the tremendous mass of evidence, about Barbara Honegger's book and others who have written about the Reagan-Bush agreement with Iran for them to keep the hostages,
Right.
not let them go until after the election, in exchange for shipping them arms and equipment, which was illegal.
Outrageous manipulation is what it was.
And just recently, the ex-Prime Minister of Iran just stated publicly that he met with Bush in Paris, and Bush was the man who arranged the whole hostage deal in exchange for arms that led to the Iran-Contra scandal that everybody's familiar with. And I believe that Bush is worried. I believe he's scared to death, because I think pretty soon we're going to see the end of George Bush. The man is dirty, he's a criminal, and I think he may have had a real heart attack, but in any event, while he's at Bethesda Naval Hospital, his memory will be erased during that period of time by EDOM, which is electronic dissolution of memory. It's a mind control technique that the CIA has developed over the last 40 years, and when all of this breaks down, even if he's impeached, he won't be able to incriminate a whole lot of other people, and the damage will be contained. Even though he may lose the presidency, the intelligence network is not going to fall to pieces, and that's what they're trying to preserve, I believe. Remember that when James Forrestal went to Bethesda Naval Hospital, he was killed. Remember that when Richard Nixon resigned, it said on the steps of the White House, when he was saying his farewell speech, he said, "Within a few days, I'm going to tell the American people the truth about UFOs." Immediately, he was snatched, taken to the mental ward of Bethesda Naval Hospital, and he's never said another word about it since.
And Ford said he was going to say something too when he first took office. He said he's going to let the whole world know.
That's
that was
correct.
on national television.
And he
Nothing.
never did.
Nothing.
Carter also said when he gets in the White House that he was going to order NASA to make an investigation and tell the truth about UFOs. Well, he did give the order to NASA, and NASA never did it, and he never enforced his order. So anyway, I think the Bush administration is going to come tumbling down very shortly.
Well, that's good news to me. As you know, I don't have any love for Mr. George Bush, and I think he's a jerk, and I think he always was a jerk, and we need to write our congressmen, we need to write our senators. We are in a sorry state of affairs when in this United States of America, which is supposed to stand for truth, we can all pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness here. When we have to worry about what our neighbors are, we have to worry about what we do, what's happening, is the president this, is the president that, if he goes, wow, and all of this is terrible, folks. Stop and think for a minute. This is absolutely terrible. And when it's got to this state where there's smoke, there's fire, all right? All we're saying is, like Mr. Cooper said just a few minutes ago, wake up, start opening your eyes and ears, research, investigate, which is we're going to do. And you know, those of you that watch the show know that we do, and we don't hold any punches. And we are going to topple this regime that we got, and we are turning fascist in this country. And that's certainly not what I want. And if that's what you want out there, buddy, then you're in trouble, because you're my enemy. You know, and I'm going to do my best to pull you down. And I'm going to do it legally, and I'm going to do it with righteousness. And that's all. I'm my little soapbox that I want to get off to. You probably said this story ad infinitum, though, but the one that I really haven't, I would like to hear from you, is about this ship that you saw. that came out of the
In
water.
1966.
You want to talk just a couple minutes about that?
Sure.
And I'd like to hear just what that thing looks like. I'm very interested, personally, my forte is what these things look like, and I'm very interested in their culture and what they have to say to us or not say to us. That's, for some reason, that really interests me.
Well, I think it should be interesting to everyone if they're real. I think it'd be unbelievably
Yeah.
eye-opening.
But this must have
mind
been
expanding.
amazing, because I understand the size of this craft was just
Yeah, it
unbelievable.
was. It was amazing to me because I didn't believe in UFOs, even though I was reared in an Air Force family and my father was a pilot, and I had heard the pilots talking about UFOs all my life. And when I left home, I went into the Air Force and I met sergeants who told me, after they had had quite a few glasses of booze down their gullet, they'd tell me stories about having participated in recoveries of crashed extraterrestrial alien craft, flying saucers. I didn't believe that either, because they were always drunk when they told me these stories, and I was a junior airman in the Strategic Air Command, and I knew that they liked to pull our leg
Oh,
all
your
the
leg,
time.
sure.
So when I went in the Navy, I was on a submarine, USS Tyru, SS-416, and we were traversing transiting from the Portland-Seattle area to the Pearl Harbor submarine base on the surface at about 10 knots. I was the port lookout, and it was afternoon. It was a bright day, but it was a little overcast, and the sun was not out. And off the port bow, I was looking right at it. It came right up out of the water. A flying saucer, the size of an aircraft carrier, about 2.5 nautical miles away, came up right out of the water with water streaming from the air around it, not from the craft itself, but from the air around it. Went up in the air and just tumbled lazily like this, and then just went right up into the clouds and disappeared. And I was just dumbfounded. Dumbstruck is the word for it. I couldn't
This is a
speak.
spherical saucer that we tend to think of.
Yeah, it
Didn't look like a Klingon warrior ship or
no,
something.
no, no. This was round, like a dinner plate, with a raised portion in the center.
Classic.
It looked like it had vents and windows and things. It was obviously a machine. It was pewter colored. The underneath was concave. I guess it's concave. I get confused between
Convex,
concave and
concave,
convex.
yeah.
But anyway, it went up in the center underneath, and then up over the top. And it was huge. And I reported this to the officer of the deck as I had seen something off the port bow, because I didn't want to tell him I'd seen a flying saucer. I didn't want to be the laughing stock of the boat. In the submarine, it's a close crew, and if you're an outcast, that's it. You might as well leave forever. So I told him I'd seen something off the port bow, and it disappeared. I didn't know what it was, but it was something big. Would he please help me look over that area? He started looking with his glasses, and the starboard lookout heard me tell him this, and he began to look also. And I never expected to see it again in my whole life. But either the same ship or another one just like it came down out of the clouds, tumbled again on its axis, and a hole just opened up right in the ocean, and it just went in.
So the water opened up.
Just opened up, and then the water closed behind it, and there was no splash, no nothing. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. The officer of the deck turned around to me. His name was Ensign Ball, and he just had the most unbelievable look on his face. And he just looked right at me, and he said, "This had to happen on my watch." And I knew exactly how he felt. He had to tell the captain that we had witnessed a flying saucer, and he didn't want to do that because it meant the end of his career if the captain didn't believe him. So he called the captain to the bridge, called for somebody to bring up a camera. The captain came to the bridge, the chief quartermaster behind him with a 35mm camera. And the five of us stood on the bridge and watched this repeat itself over and over again for about 10 minutes. Chief quartermaster taking photographs all the time. We were told not to discuss it with anyone, not even amongst ourselves, that it was classified, top secret. And we were not allowed to leave the boat when we reached Pearl, the five of us who had seen it. Not even the captain was allowed to go ashore until an officer from Naval Intelligence, a commander, came on board and debriefed each one of us individually in the captain's stateroom. And basically, he yelled and screamed and really threatened us with a lot of jail time, a lot of time in the brig, because he didn't like our answers. He would ask me, "What did you see out there?" I said, my first answer was, I think I saw a flying saucer, sir. And he hit the roof. Well, I'd been reared in a military family. My father was an officer. I had served 4 years in the Air Force, and now I'm in the Navy. When he did that, I knew that I had given the wrong answer. There's no doubt about it. And it would be futile to pursue that course. So when he asked me again, what did you see out there? I said, I didn't see anything, sir, and I'd like to get out of here as quickly as possible. And he was very pleased with that. And the captain was not only pleased, but obviously relieved. And then he made me read several different regulations and laws governing the disclosure of information that would affect the national security. I had to sign a security oath. He read me the Riot Act, told me if I ever talked about this with anyone in my whole life, if I ever disclosed what it was that I didn't see, that I could be subject to 10 years in jail, $10,000 fine, and subject to loss of all pay and allowances due or ever to become due. And that's how they keep people in the military and the government quiet. My own father, he says, I've known about this for years, son. He says, but they bought me a long time ago. He says, my retirement is your mother and I's only income. And if I can't help you. If I try to help you, we lose it. And I understood his predicament. I don't agree with what he's doing. I think he should talk, and I don't think he'll lose anything. But he's afraid of it. And he comes from a different era. He was a poor man from Oklahoma and went in the service, and they taught him how to fly, made him an officer, and he had a damn good life. But he remembers the Depression.
Shane, let me ask one question, because they're going to have to...
Yeah, I want to let him go, too. Thanks for indulging me.
But I'd like to have one question, and I'll shut this off, and if you don't want to answer it...
Well, let me just say. You want to plug a book or anything?
Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay. I have a new book out, Behold...
Well, wait a minute.
I'm on. Go ahead.
You ready?
Yep. Look
okay,
right into me.
Go ahead, and I'll just edit all that junk out. But,
yeah, you can look straight into me when you say it.
Full copy of this.
Oh, great.
Before I edit it and after I edit it.
Okay. Wonderful.
So look, when you plug your book, look straight into the camera, because it'll be going straight off the TV. Okay, go ahead.
I have a new book out, Behold a Pale Horse. It's 500 pages of extensively documented research
Good stuff about that.
from the last 19 years, and includes what I saw when I was in Naval Intelligence that made me leave the service before I could have retired in disgust, literally. I've been told by experts that this is the most thoroughly documented book on these subjects that they have ever seen, and I can guarantee you that it contains more suppressed information than has ever been printed in one book in the history of human civilization. If you want to get a copy of this book, send me $20 plus $3, $23 total, to William Cooper, Post Office Box 3299, Camp Verde, Arizona, 86322. That's Post Office Box 3299, Camp Verde, Arizona, 86322. If you'd like to call me and talk to me, 602-567-6536. We also have tapes, and we have the Kennedy assassination tape in color, clear and crisp. You can see with your own eyes exactly who shot President Kennedy and destroyed the political will of this nation.
Well, that's fantastic. Anybody that needs any more information or wants to pass anything along, just get a hold of us at the show, and we're going to pass this information along to Mr. Cooper or send you back some information, whatever you want. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me.
And it's a pleasure to meet you. I bumped into you the first time, as you remember, over at Beckley's thing there in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew you were sizing me out then. I'm very thankful to our mutual friend for getting us together. And
well, Roger was the best man at my wedding. I
Yeah.
trust Roger, and he would never do me dirty.
Well, Ted and I spent about a week, 10 days with him, and he's a pretty crazy guy, and we had a lot of fun too. So I respect Roger a lot too. And thanks again. And thanks for watching.